Welcome to the Quadcast Podcast with Zach. Zach is the host of the Quad Life with Zach YouTube channel with over 100,000 subscribers. Zach's mission is to bring awareness and education on spinal cord injuries, motivate others to overcome life's challenges, and persevere despite the odds. No matter what your challenges are, never underestimate the power of your mind and what you can achieve. Get ready to change the way you think and acquire a dose of inspiration. Here is your host, Zach Colley.
All right, we are recording. Welcome back, everyone, to my second episode of my podcast. Today actually marks 10 years since I broke my neck, May 31st, 2010, and we are already at May 31st, 2020. So it's pretty crazy right now that it's been 10 years since I broke my neck, and I am joined by one of my best friends, my brother from another mother, Travis. He's actually the guy that pulled me out of the water and basically saved my life, saved me from drowning. So welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. I don't think we've really actually sat down in the 10 years since I've been injured and talked about like the day of my accident from your perspective, which is something I've wanted to do for a long time. And so I want to do that today.
Sweet. Let's get to it.
So just like, I don't know, I want to talk about like a little background. We've known each other since like preschool.
Kindergarten? Yeah, preschool?
Preschool, which is before kindergarten.
2 years old.
So something like that.
Yeah,
and
2 or 3.
Yeah, we grew up in like preschool together, and then I moved away in like second grade, but we managed to still stay in contact after all those years. And so
I think we randomly saw each other at I think it was one of the gaming places, wasn't it? Or we saw each other walking somewhere, and our parents were like, grab each other's info.
Yeah,
and then
I think what was the Cyber World place in Orange called?
It's either Cyber World or I think we saw you at the pool.
Yeah.
I think we saw you at the pool.
Maybe at the pool.
Aunts, way back in the day.
Yeah, but then also years later, I saw you in Orange at that gaming cafe.
Yeah.
But the one,
oh,
it
good
wasn't
old World
Cyber
of Warcraft.
Yeah, dude, we used to be total gamers. So,
Nerd life.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I want to just kind of hear like the whole day from your perspective, starting from when I literally remember it was Memorial Day 2010. It was a Monday. We had the day off from school. So, we didn't have class, and you called me or texted me asking if I wanted to go to the beach, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you hit me up, and I remember asking my parents to let me go, but they didn't want to. They already had a barbecue they were going to. They wanted me to go to that, but I begged them and convinced them to let me go, and then they decided to drop me off at your mom's house. And from there, it's crazy because we kind of talked about it briefly. Dude, I literally thought that your mom dropped us off.
I think she did. We were going to bus it back. So
Okay.
She dropped us off, and we were going to take the bus back. And we're like, oh, we'll just take the bus back. She's like, I'm not getting you guys.
Yeah, because it's Memorial Day, so that's insane amount of traffic. It's a holiday. Everyone goes to the beach for that.
It takes an hour and a half just to park.
Yeah, so your mom dropped us off, and I remember getting unloaded. We were meeting some people there that I didn't really know. They were kind of more your friends, but I think I knew of them. And we got our stuff, got out of the car, walked to the beach, found where they had unpacked all our stuff, and kind of set our stuff down, and we headed straight to the water.
Day began.
Yeah. Is that pretty much how you remember it?
Pretty much, yeah. I think everyone was telling us not to go to the beach. Even my parents, like, are you serious? Come on, it's Memorial Day. It's not even early. It's probably like noon or 1 or something. It's like probably midday.
Yeah.
So by the time we got down there, it's just hell. And then, yeah, we set up, just started swimming, and it wasn't until like the end of the day when we were going to go home is when kind of everything went south.
Yeah. So I remember that day, like the first time we went in the water all together, it was like freezing. And so I remember like, okay, this is cold, but whatever. We're at the beach. Like, I don't care. I don't have to go to school. And so we were in the water for who knows how long. Then I remember like we got tired and got out and walked to like a sandwich shop or like a deli.
Yeah, right over there by Newport.
Okay, yeah. And
right at the pier.
Yeah, I remember getting specifically, I don't know what I ate, but I remember I got freaking Takis. And it was like I never got them before in my life. I don't even like hot Cheetos, but for some reason that day, I got those. I distinctly remember eating them. And so after that, I remember us just kind of going back to our spot in the sand and laying out. And then before you know it, we're like, oh my gosh, like the day's already over. It's coming to an end. Like, let's go in the water one last time.
Yeah, literally, that was like that's where it starts for me mainly, is everyone was just like, all right, one last jump.
Yeah.
And then I remember all the guys just ran out and we all just dove in, and then everyone popped up like, yeah, high five, having a great time.
Yeah.
And then I just saw you floating, and I was like, damn it, Zach, because we'd always do that, like in the pool, just to screw with each other, mess around.
Yeah.
So then I ran over, and I just saw you floating still, and the current was strong that day. That's why like the sandbars were being made and everything. Mm-hmm. So I saw you just start floating down quicker, and I'm like, what the heck? So when I got over to you, I just slapped you on the back. And then just the weirdest thing, just from like slapping you, I could feel like something was just weird.
Yeah.
And then I flipped you over, and you literally just got a huge breath. So I was like, is he still screwing with me? And then like you couldn't talk. So then that's
how long, like, I've always been curious, like in my head it felt way longer than what it really was, but do you remember just like looking at me for a little bit, and then
a solid, like I'd say a solid no less than 30 seconds, like at least 30 seconds,
just from staring at me, or the whole time?
From staring at you to the end, anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute.
Okay.
So it was a while. Like,
yeah.
When you realistically think about one Mississippi, two Mississippi, like sitting face down in water.
Yeah. And
it's a long ass time.
So I remember in my head literally running towards the water with everyone, you right next to me on my right side. In my head, I'm like, okay, the water's cold that day. You know, in my head, I'm like, I'm just going to jump into the water just to get used to it as quick as possible. Like, that's what I was taught growing up at the beach. So I saw a wave coming at me, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to dive into this wave and just submerge my body in the cold water, just suck it up and get used to it. And so, yeah, I remember running in and then just diving, and then just instantly, like, numbness, and I just couldn't move anything. And so I don't even, that day, it's like I remember it, but it's super, like, foggy as well. So I don't remember if I heard a crack, like, from my neck or anything. I just remember impact, and then all of a sudden, like, my body just, like, turned off. And
did you get, like, a warm tingling sensation, anything, or just nothing?
I think just nothing, because
just so much
I
shock.
couldn't, as soon as I broke my neck, like, the feeling in my body went away. So even, like, the cold water. And what's crazy is, we talked about this later on, you smacked me on my back, and I thought that you, like, were poking me, like, hey, get up. And so when you told me the first time that, dude, I ran over to you and smacked you on your back, and, like, you didn't even flinch. And like, that was the defining moment for you, that you were like, okay, something's wrong. And then you started to see my body float back out with the tide. And then you ran over and flipped me over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you got just a huge, big breath of air. By the breath of air, I was like, okay, there's no way he'd play a joke to the point where he can barely almost breathe. And then once you're just on your back, you can just see in your eyes. I was like, oh, shit. So then I just went under your armpits. But at the time, you're like, what, 5'8"?
Dude, so I was 15 years old.
You're a
5'8",
big
5'9"
boy.
I wrestled my freshman year of high school.
Yeah, like,
and I asked my parents. I always thought 160, but apparently my freshman year I wrestled 170 pounds.
Yeah.
And I was muscle. Like, I wasn't, like, I didn't have a lot of fat on my body, so I was just a bigger guy for my age. And how tall are you?
Yeah, I'm full grown. I'm freaking 5'5", 5'6" on a good day.
Yeah.
So at the
how much do you think you weighed back then too?
Oh man, I was like
125?
even littler me, probably less, dude. Probably like 5'2", 115, soaking wet.
Yeah. So at that point, you know, you're pulling my body in the water, our height and weight difference, and eventually, like, obviously I'm in the water floating, so I'm not as heavy, and at that point, like, I'm just dead weight, 170 pounds.
Yeah.
And once, like, I want you to explain it.
Yeah, I remember getting, like, under your armpits and, like, going to where the water was helping me obviously pull you in, and then the second you started actually, like, fully getting on sand, I was just slipping to my butt because my feet would dig in the sand, and I'm like looking at everyone that's with us, and there's like 7-8 people. There's a lot of people with us.
Yeah.
And everyone's just staring, just in shock, just like speechless.
Do you think they realize something?
I don't think anyone would ever expect. No one in their life, until we went swimming, did you ever think in your life anyone ever broke their neck at the beach? It's unheard of.
Not really. No.
It's not unheard of. It happens actually all the time.
Yeah.
It's just they don't tell you about it. So you don't know that's possible. It's the last thing you'd think at the beach.
Yeah.
You're in water. You're like, you're safe.
Yeah. And I told you this the other day. before I got dropped off at your mom's house, like my dad had a talk with me in the car while we were driving. And he, my dad knew the type of kid I was. So he was like, Zach, I want you to be careful, diving into like the water. You got to be careful of neck injuries. Like you could get paralyzed. I don't know if he actually said paralyzed, but he was talking to me specifically about my neck and neck injuries. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, Dad,
I
like,
get it.
I know. Like I've heard this before. Like literally the only thing that I could focus on was like, I get to go hang out with Travis and we're going to the beach. Like that's all I cared about. And so like when I dove into the wave and realized what happened, I was like, I just paralyzed. I knew I paralyzed myself. And had I not had that conversation with my dad, I don't know, it probably wouldn't have connected as fast. But then I'm laying face down in the water, still fully conscious. Like I could open and close my eyes. Like I knew what had just happened, where I was, and knowing the person I was like, oh my gosh, like this is serious, but I'm a jokester. People are going to think, I'm just kidding around. By the time someone realizes it's serious, I would have drowned in inhaled water. So going through my mind, I'm like, wow, all my friends are going to think I'm joking. I kind of accepted that, I was going to drown that day. And in my head,
what are you thinking? Just laying face down,
dude, like just after I realized, like pretty much I accepted I was going to die that day, I just couldn't stop thinking about like my family and getting to say goodbye to them. And, I was a little troublemaker 15-year-old for my family. So I was like, I just want to say I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry for all the trouble I put like my parents through and just not getting to be able to do that, and, I couldn't even lift like my head above the water to take a breath of air. And then you came over and I remember like feeling a weird sensation on my back. And like, that was, I think the most hope like I had ever felt in my life, that, okay, maybe someone's there and they're checking on me, and just praying that they flip me over. And, then I remember being flipped over and staring straight up into the sun, and, and then you talked about how as you were pulling me out of the water, we're at the beach, so waves are still coming, and like going over my body and hitting me in the face. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't really remember that exactly.
Since the way the waves were breaking all close in, the sand just went straight down. So it's like one of those days when you walk to the beach and the sand just drops. It wasn't just a normal shallow day.
Yeah.
So we went from deep water to where it's slowly getting shallower, but I'm slipping because the ground's so steep. Mm-hmm. And then the waves just keep rolling in. So it's like it's going over you. You can't talk. I'm too little to pull your big ass. So I'm slipping and sliding, pulling you. Everyone's just looking at us. And then when we finally got like close enough up to where someone could help us, like pull you another inch or two, I just kept asking like, what's wrong? And like, you couldn't say anything. It was probably being in shock. Yeah. But I remember the first things you said was like, I can't move. And that's when I was just, I don't know, it clicked too. Same thing. I don't know why. I've never had an experience in that, but I was like, fuck, he broke his neck.
Yeah. So
then I just sprinted to the lifeguard tower and I'm like, hey, my friend broke his neck. And he kind of looked at me just like, and I'm like, he broke his neck. And then the guy's like, oh, hold on. And then sure as hell, they got the ambulance, off-road ambulance, got him on the sand.
I remember seeing out of the corner of my eye. Like, I can't remember if I turned my head because I don't think I could do that. But just out of the corner of my eye, I could see my arms like above my head as you were pulling me out. And then once you got me to a safe enough spot on the sand away from the water, like you let go of them. And I remember them just like flopping down into the sand as if they weren't even attached to my body. But I could see them, like I knew they were my arms.
It's like watching a movie.
But yeah, and they felt so heavy, and I remember just trying to move them and like nothing. And so I just kept thinking of like wet noodly arms. And from after that, I remember people just like coming over and being like, all right, Zach, like stop messing around. Like it's not funny anymore. I don't know if that was when you were at the lifeguard. And then I just kept trying to say, like, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm paralyzed. I can't move. And like you said at the time, like, I couldn't speak at first. And I think my body was just in shock. But in my head, I'm like, I know what happened. Like, just go. I need to get a lifeguard. Call 911, And so you came back. And then I remember hearing the sirens in the distance. And this, like, creepy feeling went through me, like, because I knew they were coming for me specifically. And then I remember eventually them getting there. They put me straight into a neck brace and then lifted me onto like a stretcher. And for all these years, like I said, it's been 10 years. we've never had like a detailed talk about this. For those 10 years, like I thought you were left at the beach, but you got in the ambulance with me.
Yeah.
So what did they say to you? And like, what happened?
First they're just like, where's his parents? And I'm like, cause we're 15. I'm like, we're down here all on our own. So they're like, hop in, because someone had to contact your family. So I'm going with you. And at the time, like, I call your mom, I call your dad, vice versa. Like, we grew up together.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to call your mom. No one answers. I try to call your dad. No one answers. I call my mom. No one. Call my dad. No one. Call my step-parents. No one.
Oh my gosh.
I start calling my grandma, my aunt, anyone I could think of. And then I think it was my grandma or my aunt that got a hold of your mom finally. Or your mom saw like a bunch of my missed calls. Somehow. Yeah. Someone got in contact in the loop. And God, probably like a half hour. We were already at the hospital. We were sitting there. I was in just my bathing suit soaking wet. I remember the lady there gave me a blanket and some slippers, and just explained everything they were gonna do. She's like, "Hey, like we're gonna put a rod in your friend's neck. They're gonna go into surgery. They're gonna suck out the marrow." Like, she broke down everything.
In the ambulance, was I still conscious? Did I ever lose consciousness or?
No, yeah, you were conscious.
I was just still there.
Go to go, man.
Yeah. So I don't remember. That's all black for me. Even being in the hospital, because I found out later. So it's Memorial Day week. It's Memorial Day. Like, it's a holiday, so there aren't doctors working really. And if they are doctors, they already have scheduled surgeries to work on that day. So I didn't get surgery till 3 days later. Yep. For a few reasons, because I had hit my neck and I developed a hematoma, which is swelling. So there was pressure being put against my spinal cord. And, at the time they're like, okay, well, we can't even go in and do surgery until the swelling goes down. And I'm also 15 years old, so they transfer me to Chalk, which is a children's hospital. Yeah. And then this is just what I've been told after. They 3 days later, like on Wednesday, so Monday, and then they did surgery on Wednesday. They eventually cut open the back of my neck. I completely shattered my C4 vertebrae, so there was broken pieces of bone floating around in my neck. At any point, if I would have like turned my head or made a wrong movement, like they could have cut my spinal cord, making my injury way worse.
Well, isn't your C4, won't that kill you if you break it all the way?
I don't know. So it goes, C1 basically connects your spinal cord to your brain internally. So like Christopher Reeve, Superman, broke C1, C2. Basically, his head was decapitated internally.
Oh my God.
Freaking crazy. And so, they did the surgery. They pulled out all the broken pieces of bone. They replaced it with a shin bone from another person. Yeah. And they said it fit perfectly.
You have another guy's shin in your neck?
I think it's a woman. Yes, another woman's bone in my neck.
Better.
Right now. And they did the surgery. Like, they told me right now my neck is, it's stronger than the average person's now. But, I was left to C4 quadriplegic. And so, yeah, I wanted to talk more about like what, like the thoughts that were going through your head. And even like after my accident, because I was in the hospital. And I know you came to visit me and stuff.
Yeah, well, right away, they, like you said, they did the CAT scan, put you in the tube and everything at the hospital in Newport. Then they transferred you. And then from there, I don't know. I was just kind of like in the same boat you were. I was just asking my parents, like, oh, how long until he's better? Like, same thing. Well, no. It's kind of like you don't really expect, like, that they're going to be paralyzed. Like, I remember that was, like, the hardest day ever is when I kind of realized it. And then later you were like, dude, when are we going fishing? And, like, you were asking your dad, all of us. And I'm like, holy crap, like, we might not go fishing this year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I had plans that summer to go fly out to visit my buddy Dylan in New Mexico.
Yeah, you were just getting your permit.
Yeah, I just got my permit, and I think for me, I knew it was bad, but for some reason I'm like, I'll get better. Like, this isn't going to be a permanent thing. Yeah, I guess at the time, yeah. I mean, now I know I was trying to just be optimistic, but I even didn't know at the time the full extent of like what had just happened to me. Like, I thought, okay, 2 weeks down the line, I'll be better. Then once 2 weeks hit, I'm like, okay, maybe like in a month I'll be better. Then a month hit, not better. And slowly over time, I realized and accepted, like, this is, my new life now. I think that is one of the ways why I handled it so well, is because it didn't just all hit me at once. And I'm young too. Like, I didn't even know really what a spinal cord injury was. Yeah. I remember, like, I would see people in wheelchairs, I don't know, the few ones I did just before my accident. And whether they had a spinal cord injury or not, like I just was completely uneducated on what that even meant.
Yeah.
Like what was a quadriplegic? What was a paraplegic? What does that mean? And that's all stuff I just learned, you know, way after my accident. But I'm actually curious, like once you realized like I was going to be paralyzed pretty much the rest of my life, or that I had broken my neck, what were your thoughts? Did you ever like blame yourself or anything?
Dude, yeah.
I was curious
I legit
about that.
thought your parents hated me. Like,
Really?
hated me. I was like, oh my God, it's all my fault. Like, they hate me. Like, I don't know. I thought you would hate me. I thought all that. I was just like, shit, like, this is my fault.
Yeah.
Like a huge, just because, like you said, I was pushing. And you know me. If I want to do something, 90% of the time, I'm going to end up making it happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that day I was just harping. And we made it happen.
Yeah, no, and yeah, that's always been something that's gone through my head. I wonder if you like blamed yourself for it. And there was a period after my accident, you know, like 1 or 2 years where we didn't talk at all.
Yeah.
And we just kind of lost contact and went our separate ways. And
yeah,
you know, in my
like
head,
the roughest patch.
Yeah, and you know, you went through a rough patch personally, and in my head, I'm like, wow, like can he just like not be around me? Like I didn't know if like I reminded you of that day because you blamed yourself, and you know you just felt so guilty, and you just couldn't be around me. So and then we ended up talking later. You know, you went through some personal
just
stuff.
Being young and dumb, and we just started high school, so I started partying, doing drugs, being an idiot, and then priorities went out the window, and then anything just revolved around that.
Yeah.
And then once I kind of got my shit together, that's when we started hanging out,
reconnected again,
started doing everything again, concerts, movies, all that jazz.
Yeah, and I think it's hard too because I was a freshman, like we were freshmen in high school when this happened.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was 15, you're a year younger than me, so you were 14 at the time, right?
Yeah. Wait, when do you turn?
I turned 26 in August.
November, I'm right behind you. So we're like a couple months apart.
Okay, then we were still around the same age, but very similar. So yeah, you know, anyone at that age as a teenager is, you know, looking forward to high school, to the parties.
Well, that's what I feel bad is because like in the time you needed a best friend the most, I was just like stuck into drugs and partying and shit that didn't matter.
Yeah.
When I had a friend that needed me, so I'm like, that's what I feel worse for the most. Not that I blame myself or anything. I just look back on that time and I'm like, damn, drugs mattered more than like being there for a friend. Which this is why I'm glad you could never get back to that point. But
yeah, and I think high school was, you know, I felt very supported. Like my high school was supportive. Like I still have my friends and like my parents, but man, like I felt I missed out so much on high school just with like, well, it's funny. I missed out on all the parties, but that's a big part of high school is like the social aspect. Mm-hmm. And I'm a social person. Like I'm a huge extrovert. I love being around people. I love interacting with others. And so, you know, I missed out a lot on those opportunities just from not getting invited, you know, because at that time, you know, I wasn't independent enough to take care of myself on my own. So I had to have people with me. They had to help me with stuff. You know, I basically had to have a babysitter. And, you know, I have other teenage friends, you know, that don't want to babysit me and they want to party and have a good time. And on top of like party wherever they was, you know, most likely it wasn't a place that was accessible for my wheelchair. And so I remember that was probably the hardest part for me because of my accident was just missing out on all that stuff during high school.
Yeah, and it was at the hardest time. It's not like if your accident would happen in 6th or 7th grade, you would have had more skills down and more therapy done to where you would have been able, I feel like, to do a little more. But it was like at the worst damn time, like right when everything was there, it happened. So then it's like, okay, now you're doing all this recovery. And then it was around senior year, maybe the year after high school is when we were like, okay, we can throw you in this car. We can take you to this concert, this party. We get wheelchair seating. Now we've kind of figured shit out over 10 years.
Yeah.
Trial and error.
Yeah, exactly. So
now you're driving on your own. You're engaged.
Man. It's been a lot of stuff to reflect on these past 10 years. And
you got to walk at graduation.
Yeah.
Me and Devin watched that.
That was
the craziest thing ever.
That's probably like this, like, even more than I don't know, it's funny saying that, more than my accident. Like I felt so nervous doing that, but really? Like I knew like I had to do this because it would be such like a monumental thing for me.
Oh hell yeah. For everyone.
But dude, I didn't give the green light till like a few days before graduation because my school asked me, my mom was pushing me. She's like, we can get physical therapists to come down with a walker. They'll walk you. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. Like I'll do it for my college graduation. My mom's like, well, all these people in your high school know you. It's going to be so much more powerful if you do it in high school. And I'm like, God, no, I don't want to do this. And then 3 days before, I'm like, screw this. I'm going to do it. And so, yeah, that was amazing. And then going to college and getting experience that. I got to live on campus for a little bit, and then like we started to slowly reconnect and stuff. And so I think that was like one of the things I'm also most grateful for, is that we reconnected our friendship, because literally, like, dude, I would stay the night at your mom's house like every weekend I could. And I would try to stay Friday through Sunday.
Yeah. And then when it wasn't my house, we would go to yours.
Yeah. And it's like, you're my brother from another mother. And like, your mom's like my mom, and, vice versa. So I'm really happy that we were able to like reconnect, and just honestly, like, we picked up kind of where we left off. Almost like there was no
gap. 2 or 3 year gap.
2 or 3 year gap. We just picked up, and you were the same, like, you're still the same Travis I remember, and I'm still the same Zach. And so, I've been very grateful that we've been able to do that. And like, you're a very like upgoing, like energetic person. So I always appreciated you like making the effort to come to me and pick me up and then go out and do stuff. Like, you're always down to do stuff. And so, yeah, I don't really know. I didn't really have an agenda specifically of things to talk about. I just kind of wanted to talk over like the day of my injury from your perspective, because you told me things that I don't remember. And you also told me things that happened differently than how I thought it happened.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I remember the most annoying thing was, I remember someone was calling your mom, or like the police had reports of kids drinking and jumping off rocks.
Yeah.
Everyone thought we were drunk or we were stoned or something. And I'm like, we literally were just 15-year-old kids.
Completely
nuts. Yeah,
sober. I remember actually after I was in the hospital and I woke up and my mom was like, Zach, I need to talk to you about something. And I was like, what? And she's like, people are saying that you guys were being rowdy, that you were intoxicated, that you were just acting out. And she's like, I want you to tell me before we test this, just be honest. Like, were you drinking or were you like doing anything? And I was like, no, we weren't. And they tested my blood. Everything came back negative. So now I'm like, yeah, who the hell are these people that are starting these freaking rumors saying, we're disturbing people? Like, I heard a story that someone said I was diving off the jetty into the water. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, where does that come from?
And this was like within maybe 2-3 days.
Yeah, no, like super like recent. Day. Like, I think I must have been gone, but police probably came back
at the hospital.
We're your probably mom was talking to
asking
people.
Me that. I was like, I swear to God, I was like, we weren't drinking.
Yeah, we weren't doing anything. And so, yeah, no, she told me that, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I got paralyzed, and people are like accusing me of like drinking and stuff, but whatever. I wasn't. And I think that's also a thing too, is that what happened to me was purely just an accident. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I didn't do anything to like cause it to happen. I've heard stories of people that, they get drunk or they're on drugs and they go and do something stupid and then get paralyzed because of that. And,
yeah, you were just
I didn't
one
feel
of
like I did that.
8 million people who jumped into the water that day.
Just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. After my accident, I ended up meeting a guy, Brian, who's a quadriplegic, who broke his neck 3 years before I did. The same beach, same street. 42nd Street. Oh. Yeah. He broke his neck there. And just 3 years before I did. So, it's just, I don't know, it's a crazy, crazy thing. Those sandbars, man. And it's weird because I've lived in Southern California my whole life. I've grown up going to the beach. And I never really like knew what a sandbar was. Or like, I remember I'd go out in the water sometime.
You can stand way higher.
And you'd stand way out, and then you'd like go out farther and it'd get super deep. But if you went farther than that, sometimes it would get shallow again. So I didn't know that's what a sandbar was. But
and even then, it's sand, water, like you're like soft and soft. Like,
yeah.
You would expect, okay, maybe motocross or maybe like ice hockey going into a wall in the boards.
Yeah.
Like,
and I don't even like, I wonder if like I remember diving in, but putting my head down and my arms out. So like, I'm wondering if like, like my head hit the sandbar, my arms went over it, and like my neck just cranked down, or if I just hit with full force. I don't know.
I'm shocked you didn't get knocked out, to be dead honest.
I know, like
thick ass head.
Yeah, dude, seriously, it was 170 pounds of force jumping
sheer pressure
all into like my head, and yeah, after that, I didn't get to take a shower until like 28 days after my accident. I was in ICU for 2 weeks, and after that, I was transferred to my rehabilitation center, Casa Clina. and I still had sand in my hair. And I remember the first time they're like, all right, Zach, we're going to shower you today. And, you know, I'm still like trying to get used to people seeing me naked now. And like, I couldn't even shower myself, couldn't wash my hair, wipe myself. And like all these other people are doing it for me. And I'm freaking 15 years old, like going through puberty. And, you know, I remember it just was like a horrible.
The worst timing.
Just worst timing. Like I felt so embarrassed and like, and I'm trying to think another word, but just, yeah, I had to like watch people like clean me. So I remember like the first time I got a shower, you know, I couldn't even really sit up. So it was like a shower bed and they transferred me into it, and I would just lay on my back, and like there was like little walls around me. So like the water would stay in, and they rolled me into this like big shower room. Kind of like, it made me think of like the showers at like a high school, where you go to shower after practice. And, you know, I did my first shower and it felt great, but it also felt so weird and uncomfortable because at the time I didn't get my feeling back. So my body is all numb, and like the feeling of water hitting your skin when you're numb, kind of like when your arm falls asleep, and it's just like
tingling.
Not the tingling though. It's just like the numbness and lack of sensation. I don't know. But
weird.
then like water hitting it, it just felt so like weird and uncomfortable. And like even now, like I got a lot of my feeling back, but I don't like taking showers.
Really?
Like I want to get in, I want to get clean. I clean my body. I'm very like super OCD about cleaning, but I want to get out. Like my buddy Blake, he's in a wheelchair. He's like, dude, I'll just sit in a shower for hours and just like water hit me. And I'm like, bro.
See,
dude,
that's my thought. I just close my eyes, enjoy like the.
Yeah, no, I just feel weird. I don't know. No, I want to get in and get out.
Well, you can't take like a hot shower either. You take like what, room temperature?
Probably room temp. I don't like hot showers.
Oh, see, I'm like that.
Yeah.
105, 110 degree shower.
Yeah, I still remember when you were over the other day and you were washing dishes with hot water.
Yeah.
And Bree turned on right after you, and she like screamed because it was so hot, and you were just like washing your hands in it. So, yeah, no, man, I like more cool water, I think, because also my body can't regulate temperatures. So if I'm taking a hot shower, I get hot, and then it's just when my body starts to kind of overheat, I just get like uncomfortable. And so, you know, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but yeah. It's been
Did you ever ask the doctor that? Like, why did I stop sweating after my accident?
So, I mean, that would be a great question to ask now. At the time, I didn't, because everything was just so new, and like
there's so much shit going on.
There's so much shit's going on. I'm not thinking about that, but you know, I remember asking the doctor. You know, this is something I really haven't talked online about. You know, but I'll just say it briefly. You know, I wonder if I could still have sex. Like, can I have children still?
Yeah.
And you know, he's like, you know,
genuine questions.
You don't really know until you try. And so I remember it's like, great, man. You know, who knows when that'll be and stuff. But you know, that was one of the main questions that was like popped into my head. It was asking a doctor that, because you know that was really important to me. But as for like sweating, you know, I don't exactly know. But yeah, it's weird. Just like the signal that my body tells my brain that it's hot and it needs to sweat just gets cut off at some point where my injury was in my neck. But yeah, I thought it'd be cool if somehow I could like go back to Chalk Hospital and talk to the doctor who did the surgery on my neck.
Oh, that'd be badass. Bring him on the podcast.
I know.
Send him an invite.
That would be super cool. I wonder if he's still like working and stuff. But you know, my mom told me that after the surgery was over, he went up to them. He's like, surgery went perfect. Could not have gone greater, but you know, I still have spinal cord damage. And so another thing that I'm grateful for too is the fact that I never like cut my spinal cord or severed it. The doctor described it to me as, you know, if you drink a soda out of a straw and you bend the straw and then go try to drink it, you know, you'll still get the drink, but it's not going to be as good as it normally would be. So he's like, that's kind of how your spinal cord is. And I think that's why I can still get some signals throughout my body, but it's just my spinal cord got compressed. But yeah, man.
I know, now you're driving.
Yeah, dude, I just got my license.
And better than 10 out of 10 people out there. You know who you are.
Dude, there's some crazy drivers, man.
It
almost just makes me scared.
Oh
like
God.
I know I'm a safe driver, but I'm more scared about all the other people around me. But yeah, I try to be very cautious and stuff. And I got to drive you the other day, and like, I don't know, that meant a lot to me. I was like, dude, especially for all the people that up until like this 10 years, anytime I had to go anywhere or wanted to go anywhere, I had to have someone else drive me. And so everyone's always like, all right, dude, you owe me for all the times I've driven you and stuff. So I'm like, yeah, I got a lot of repaying to do. And like, I was stoked just to drive you the other day and have you in the car.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, it's, my life took a crazy different direction than I ever thought it would go. And despite the stuff that, came with it, it still sucks. But looking at my life right now, like, and what I've accomplished in these past 10 years, I really think it's more than I would have accomplished in my entire life had my accident not happened. And, I'm very grateful for all the opportunities and doors that have opened because of it and stuff. And, I'm just grateful that we've been able to, I think our relationship's even stronger than it was before. And it was freaking strong before.
Strong as fuck.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. Well, thank you for coming on and doing this with me.
Thanks for having me, my dude.
Like I said, I've been wanting to do this for so long and just really, talk about the day of my accident from your perspective, because we've never really done that.
Yeah, if we ever do, it's just like a little part, and we'd slowly find out, okay, wait, we got two different stories. We need to mesh this together.
Yeah, exactly. So, but all right, well, thanks, man. That's going to be it for this episode. Thank you everyone for watching. Please comment below your thoughts, what you liked and stuff, what stood out to you. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you're all staying safe during this quarantine. I know stuff's starting to open up again, and apparently you're not required to wear masks anymore, which I don't know. I was annoyed at first because I didn't like wearing masks, but now I'm like, I think it's still a good idea to be as safe as you can. But yeah. Thanks, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know who you'd like me to talk to next, and I'll see you all in my next video. Thank you, guys.
Take care.
All right.